Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another Spotlight series for projects coming to Elysium. I'm Jamie, obviously the CEO of Vulcan Forged, and I like to do these AMAs personally with some of these projects because I've worked with a lot of them and met them either in person or online, and so I know quite a lot about them. And as you guys know, we've got a very sort of what's the word, strict threshold. We say for projects we'd like to invite to Elysium. So today we have Edverse with us, and I know a lot of people are very, very excited about Edverse. I mean, truthfully, I think last year I was always a little bit wondering why there wasn't some sort of educational metaverse out there that could be utilized by students, university graduates, or whatever, university students, whatever. I always like the term "learn to earn," which I think we'll try to be coining quite a lot. But Edverse, before I bring on one of the team, I just want to let you know that the company behind Edverse have actually done a lot of work for Vulcan Forged, a lot of the gaming, a lot of the animating, a lot of the traders. So we knew before they embarked on this journey that they had an enormous technical team, and I mean enormous. And they also come from the same sort of background we did, where we weren't actually a crypto company to start with. So they go on this traditional business route of they're creating animations and gaming technologies, and they moved into Edverse as a tokenized metaverse later. So I always find those projects the most fascinating because you know they've actually got the tools beforehand, and they're not in it just for a quick buck, and you know they're going to be building. So without further ado, let me bring in Yuvraj from Edverse, and perhaps he can introduce himself. Hello, Yuvraj.
Hey, hi, Jamie. Hi, how are you? Great. So, first of all, thank you for giving us an excellent opportunity, and coming from someone like you, who's been our strongest, supporter over our journey into this entire metaverse sphere. I think this is tremendous. So, thank you for the opportunity, and to the entire Vulcan Forge community as well. So, a little bit about me. I am heading technology and product as far as Edverse is concerned. uh, in terms of team, as you rightly mentioned, that we do come with the technical pedigree. But prior to that, I mean, we've always had a heart in education, and we've worked extensively in that domain over the course of at least 7 or 8 years. Testimony to the fact is that we work with global giants like Google to actually bring about AR-powered learning experiences to millions of learners across the globe. Um, we've had this great eclectic team, who's always very passionate about education and technology, is very very strongly rooted into product design, and I think the whole concept of metaverse provided to be a very apt and I'd say the perfect use case for us to launch education. Yeah, and I think with people like you backing us, I think we've taken that plunge and we've launched Edverse.
So on a high level basis, I think a lot of people, when they think of metaverse, they sort of associate it with sort of games and walking around and virtual world experiences. So is that what we're to expect with Edverse? Is this kind of interactive virtual world within a standalone application?
Yeah, so I think the way to look at an education metaverse is to kind of break the whole segment down into four categories, and we call them as the four stakeholders of the entire you know the entire I'd say the education metaverse. So one of them happens to be the educators, the learners, the creators, and the promoters, and between them, the whole idea is to have a completely decentralized way to approach education. Uh, so it will facilitate a lot of immersive journeys. It will facilitate a lot of interaction never seen before. I'd say exploration of its kind. So yeah, it will provide all these immersive and virtual access, and with a lot of interesting models as well. Something like learn to earn, wear to earn. So a lot of those models will obviously encourage the interaction between the metaverse. Right.
Yeah, and I think a lot of some of the videos that I've seen and some of the community have seen, maybe on various sort of Twitters, I think there's sort of there's one with like a few kids in the library, and there's another one with a surgeon sort of operating as sort of AR. So am I right in thinking you're sort of trying to tackle all the different demographics in one go, or are you honing in on certain sectors?
So to begin with, like I said, as far as our roadmap is also concerned, we begin to launch with somewhere about mid school to begin with, and then we intend to complete the whole of K-12 as we call it, which is kindergarten to the end of high school, and then we go on to higher ed as well, right? But I mean, glad that you spoke about the video. So one big announcement for everyone who's watching is that once we end, we are going to be putting out uh, a concept teaser for everyone to understand Edverse better once we're done with this interaction. But let me also touch upon something really really important. And I know that a lot of things within the metaverse community, at times tend to be taken in a more lighter spirit, so to speak. But when you talk about education, the world today is actually facing a learning crisis. There are a lot of reports out there which actually indicate, and let me just simplify this fact down for everyone who's watching, that half of the world's population is being 50% less productive, right? Just because of the simple fact that going to school or attending an online class isn't the same thing as learning. Right? There's a big difference between the two. So with
Mhm.
the Edverse coming into the metaverse, and building on the power of the metaverse, what we're really trying to solve and bring in is a paradigm shift in the way we teach and learn, right? And perhaps the vision is that maybe a decade later things would just all change for the good, right?
Mhm.
And the fundamental question that we keep on asking ourselves, right? So why do I only have to go to one same institution for all the subjects, right? Why should I be in the same class for all the subjects? Why should I not have all the options to learn anything that I would want under the sun, right? Now, all of these are very very fundamental deep rooted questions that
Mhm.
the education metaverse, which is Edverse, right, is trying to solve for us, right? So with that being said, I think we are sort of kicking off with our sole focus on schools to begin with, and then we want to extend it to higher ed as well. But let me also point out that just the formal education is not something that we want to focus on. We've got a lot of interest from some of our community members, and I think the community is only growing by the day. So there's a lot of people who are actually coming to us in terms of they want to learn about culinary skills, or they want to learn about music, or they want to learn about so many other things, languages, right? I think the other day we had someone actually dropping us a comment that like things like forensic science, right, which could be which typically in formal education setups in UK and other places require a far more professional degree. But then if someone just wants to learn and acquire knowledge of the same, right, Edwards is your answer. Right? So a lot
Yeah.
of things which are just there are going to be solved by Edwards coming in.
Yeah, I mean, the way you say it actually makes me even more excited about the project. I mean, obviously, the education industry is enormous, and the ability for anyone to sort of log in and learn is without doubt one of the biggest industries in the world. But so, what differentiates Edverse as opposed to sort of the other online portals where people can just sort of sign up on a centralized system and they can just pay to learn something, or they can just learn it for free at times?
So a lot actually. Again, like I said, it's completely just the whole immersive nature that we bring in. Okay, the whole gamified approach towards learning. Because see, at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy what you do, it just comes like a little burden. So it's enjoyment. It's about active exploration, and at the end of the day, any of these online courses that you offer or these players offer, at the end of the day, it just follows a three-step process. You watch a tutorial or a video, you do some certain assignments, you answer a few questions, and you just get a grade, and that's it. But it isn't quite the same as the kind of immersive experience that we will bring you in. So imagine, for a moment, you being inside the human heart, okay, as opposed to just watching a video. Okay. Now, when you're inside the human heart, imagine you interacting with people across the globe in the metaverse. Okay, experiencing how things happen. How does the human anatomy work? How does the human brain work? Having a lot of peer-to-peer collaborations and interactions, right? That is something which we will facilitate via the Edverse offering, right? And that, like I said, will sort of scale education to perhaps to a level that none of us have even imagined before, right? So the sheer opportunity to interact with my peer group, with people across the globe, be in that moment, right, and see it all live, right? I think that is what will really define. And I think even for educators as well, right? I mean, teaching is a tough art, right? It's not easy, right?
Mhm.
And for long, we've seen the request wherein they've really wanted to have the right set of tools, immersive tools, So what we also promise is better, deeper, and faster learning, And in a way, you're empowering the teacher of the day to go beyond the office, right? To see beyond what normal conventional board or videos will offer, right?
Hmm.
And suddenly you're transforming them, and you're making education fun again. So it's like saying, internally, we've come up with this interesting thing that we keep on saying that, one of the things that we strongly want to do is we want to actually put the fun back in fundamentals, right? So it has
Good
to
one.
be fun, it has to be enjoyable, it has to be, all in there for everyone.
It's fascinating. I mean, when you talk about it, it makes me wonder why this hasn't been done before. But then you realize that the whole metaverse and the whole virtual world thing is sort of, it only really sort of came about last year. I mean, yes, you've got some sort of immersive websites, but they're very 2D and sort of centralized and sort of payment providing. And it was only last year that a few virtual world gaming wise came out. And so it's only a matter of time until something productive like Edverse came around. So I guess a lot of the community would want to know the tech behind this. I suppose it's not going to be very easy. So could you highlight or sort of elaborate on a team you have behind you and what kind of experience they have?
So, like I said, so first things first, I think we have a great team because this is one place, wherein educators, subject matter experts, designers, modelers, animators, technology people, sort of all jam in together to create, how are we going to be showing the human heart, right? And all complex concepts, right? Not just restricted to science alone, but history, uh,
Mm.
astronomy, law, so many fields are there, right? So we have a great team of close to over 150 odd dedicated, professionals, right? Uh, and right now, like I said, even as we speak, uh, it's just great to actually, put together, and we call them, our ed enthusiasts, right? So there's a dedicated team, who can sort of, almost some 35, 40 who just sort of work day in, day out in terms of, how do we conceptualize things? How do we make it more interesting? How do we make it fun, right? And yeah, so that's the team that we have, and it comprises of all sorts of people.
I think sort of anyone watching this will be blown away of the size of the team you just said. I mean, a lot of crypto
Yeah.
companies and investors are sort of used to sort of about 2 or 3 people starting something and raising this money. But as I said before, we started the interview that you guys were already an established, enormous team with an enormous amount of resources behind you, which is why we're so confident about you guys' success. So we have so many questions. So I'm just going to try and pick some of them from the community. The first one I see now, in no particular order, is
Yeah.
are the classes, let me highlight on the screen, is are the classes and education that they get inside Edverse, are they able to be transferred to, I don't know what CEU is, but I presume is it official, I guess.
Yeah. So, see, the whole idea is to actively use this whole concept of a blockchain, and I understand where this question is coming in from. So, when you put all this record on a blockchain, right? So, because in the centralized world, you can only go to A institution or B institution, right? But when you are in this Edverse, right, all the record being up there, it's actually more than a degree because your entire education interaction or that journey is now there and is available in the blockchain, right? So, it's pretty much possible that we are going to be certifying that. There is going to be, again, a very decentralized way of doing that, and to also get industry acceptance. And even as we speak, I would like to inform the community that we've already started conversations and we've begun conversations with universities as well, to actually come on board and to take even this whole process of certification to a very decentralized and next level, right? Where anything on the block would actually, enable that, you could get scholarships, you could, you could actually be sponsored by the industry, even as early as when you're in school to, to pick up a lot of these intern-based projects as well, and be identified, by potential employees in the future as well. So it's more than what a typical degree will actually serve you with. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, so it will be. I guess that there's no real ceiling really, which kind of
Yeah.
leads on to the next question quite well. Now, I'll put it in the comments so people can read it. People, and this is a valid question, will there be any sort of accreditation or sort of, requirements for people to be able to publish content? I mean, who's going to check the accuracy of it? I mean, can anyone get on there and say the earth is flat? I mean, how will that be moderated?
Yeah, so I think great questions. Again, a lot of it is going to be community driven, right? And we will also have a panel who we call as laureates and maestros who will have the final content. So it's like saying that, if you're on Twitter, you get a blue tick in case you're a verified profile. So anyone who's a verified educator will actually get an opportunity to, before they publish content, there's going to be a proper process of review. Again, a lot of it will be driven by community and by people who are subject matter experts, who are laureates and maestros in their own ways. So you will get a lot of verified stuff as well. And in case there is something that the community feels is not appropriate, we can actually flag it off.
Yeah, I think it's the case with any sort of decentralized, well, sort of blockchain
Yeah.
game. There has to be a small element of centralization anyway, to sort of stop bad actors and sort of hacking. And you're never going to get full decentralization, but there has to be some sort of level of authority there. And quite a simple question, but important. Is Edverse going to be available in multiple languages?
We do want to do that, but like I said, I mean, at least in the first 6 months, we're looking at English. But then, the whole idea is to leverage a lot of these APIs that sort of translate content into various languages and make it more vernacular and local. So yeah, we are definitely looking at that.
Okay, so a bit further down the line. I mean, I guess at this stage you're building, and someone asked, who's building the metaverse? Is this some sort of collaboration where Vulcan Forged are building it like Hustleverse? Or are you guys doing it on your own? Whereas obviously we know the answer. You guys are doing this on your own because you've got the team to do it, right?
Yeah.
Which is great for us because you don't have to do any work.
Right.
One fat Irish dad says, from an education viewpoint, will Edverse be focusing on general education, or will the topics section of Edverse be tailored towards specific regions? That's a good question, actually, because some schools and countries have sort of different sort of curriculums, don't they? Especially when it comes to religion and history.
Yeah, so I think the idea is to offer both, and that's the option that a metaverse will bring along. So we will offer you the standard subjects as well. But having said that, there are a lot of things which schools typically don't teach or colleges typically don't teach, but are here important, right? So if I talk about so I come from a country called India, right? So if I talk about concepts like astronomy, material science, they're not even introduced in schools, right? And globally as well, there are a lot of these subjects and concepts which kids are not even aware of, right? So the whole idea is to now suddenly break the shackles. And like I said, if you have the heart to learn, we're out there for you. Right? So it'll offer subject, skills, and systemic enhancements. Like we call them 3S, right? Which will in a way form your entire universe. Right?
It's a real rarity when you speak to someone in the crypto world who comes up with these business terms and plans and structures and things that people aren't really used to. It's a lot of like, oh, here's our token, go and buy it and do it. But so on the note of the token, so I know it's EDV is the token ticker, obviously for Edverse. Could you give us some dates perhaps of when you're expecting to go live, and maybe just a high level view of the tokenomics and why there's a token to start with?
So we're looking at about another about 7 weeks from now, 6 to 7 weeks from now, before we sort of launch the token. Obviously everyone does the token sale, in order to have the enough capital, to build all kind of content. And we are also introducing a new category which is called the Ed NFTs, which are going to be brought out through the marketplace as well. In terms of tokenomics, we've already done an entire token allocation, wherein we have set aside a certain percentage for the ecosystem. There are staking pool, there are treasury. There's going to be stuff available for private. And for liquidity and exchange listing as well. I think all those details are there on our website. So I'll encourage everyone to sort of hop onto edverse.com and see an entire, diagram being made available for everyone to have a look at that.
Yep, absolutely. And if anyone wants to check them out, obviously it's my Edverse on Twitter. If you're part of the Vulcan Forged community, you'll see them plastered all over the place. You can follow them pretty well. And in terms of sort of content, you said there's a concept teaser coming very soon. Is that right?
Yeah, so just as and when we end this interaction, please go to our YouTube channel and we'll put it out on Discord as well, right? So we are coming out with that concept teaser so that we want everyone to have a feel of what Edverse is. I think we've got great reviews so far and a lot of encouragement from people like you and community members. But I think this will be the first preview in terms of what we have to offer, and we promise to keep the community updated with all the latest that we're doing, and we're doing lots of exciting stuff, guys. So lots of I'd say first of its kind things coming our way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and obviously I won't release it because I know it's under wraps, but I also know that you guys are talking to some very big players in the world, academic wise, and so that's very exciting. I know the crypto people like that kind of FOMO talk, and really interesting. Someone asked, how can we get involved and help you guys? I guess sort of awareness and publicity is all you need, isn't it, at the stage?
Yeah, so like I said, please join our community on Discord. Catch us there, and we'll keep posting stuff there. Please help us propagate and spread the word around. And yeah.
Superb. Absolutely. I'm so excited. I mean, it's very rare you get a project which is doing good for the world. I think it's a total great use case of crypto, great use of decentralization, great use of the metaverse. And you guys have 100% support from our community and ourselves. And okay, Yuvraj, it was lovely to have you on, and perhaps we'll come back in a month or so, see how you're getting on.
Absolutely. And thank you so much, Jamie, and to the entire community out there for and thank you. Especially, I know you're not in the best of health, so thank you for doing this, and it means a lot to us. Thanks.
My pleasure. All right, buddy. Take care now. Bye-bye.
Take care. Yeah. Bye-bye.